there are very good riders in other countries who are also training on a daily basis to improve, right?
Right.
And we are all competing at a very insanely like hard level. So everyone's gonna keep getting better at it. My aim was just to continuously work on the same thing at a higher level. And then from 2018 to 19, I lost the gold by 6 seconds. Leave my left hand, get the bottle, drink water, and put it back because my right is still intact, which I couldn't earlier. Earlier, I had to like stand, like sit up straight, or maybe slow down or stop on the side and drink water, and then I would lose the entire race, right? So I could make all these changes so that I could adapt. It's helpful. I feel it's more helpful because I can split my weight. I can balance the bike better even in strong winds. Because when there are crosswinds with one side, it will sway a lot. But when I have both the hands and I have the weight there properly, it's still more steady. Try and take out that time. And it will be very helpful. That will help you work better. It will help you deliver better. It will help you maintain a good mind balance, like work-life balance, and also help you stay in shape. So don't get frustrated by, like you have to attend a lot of Zoom calls and there are a lot of meetings and all. Everyone's going through the same. It's a zero-sum game at the end of the day. So just keep doing what you enjoy to do. If it's not one sport, try the other sport. If it's not that, do yoga, do meditation, anything. Just keep yourself active in some way or the other, and it will help. It will help quite a bit.
I am Baiki Venki, and this is the Working Athlete Podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various fields to provide you with inspiration, training tips, time management, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future episodes. Today's guest represented his school and college in swimming, basketball, tug-of-war, and dancing. He represented West Bengal in under 16 cricket as well. He did all this with only his left hand. He lives by the principle, it does not matter what you don't have. What matters is what you have and what you do with what you have. He represented India in Asian Para-Cycling Championships and got home 3 silver medals. His quest for gold is still on, and I am sure he will get there soon. His name is Divij Shah. Welcome to the Working Athlete Podcast, Divij. It is a pleasure having you on the show.
Wow, that was quite an intro. Thanks, Becky. Thanks for having me here. It's an honor.
Swimming, basketball, tug-of-war, dancing, and representing West Bengal normal under 16 cricket. That is quite an array of sports. So which sport did you start with and when was this?
With all of that, I think it's clear that I was never into education, I think. I started with I started with cricket. Like it was the first sport that I actually picked up, and that's where I fell in love with that sport. Must have been age of 6 is when I started playing cricket. When I was actually introduced to cricket at the age of 6, and while doing that, then I was exposed to all different kind of sports, and I think cricket started off, and then swimming started right along the same time. I'm in Calcutta, so I'm born and raised in Calcutta. I was here until my schooling, and right now because of working from home, basically Calcutta gets really, really hot during summers, and that's when swimming becomes really interesting and it's fun. There are a lot of places out here. So that's when cricket started off, and parallelly, I think swimming had started off at a very young age. And I love both the sports.
Okay. So it started with cricket, you said, and by that time, did you have this? Did you start with just one hand? What happened there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So I met with an accident when I was 4 years old. So cricket was something I was introduced to when I was 6. So obviously by then 2 years had passed, and I was like adapting to everything with just one hand. In a way, it was lucky that I met with an accident when I was 4 and not later in life, because I was growing up, it was easier to learn things, right? Because I was learning things for the first time. I was learning everything for the first time. So I could just adapt with one hand and do everything basically reliant on one side. And that's how I picked up cricket. And I knew that, I mean, I have to figure it out with just one side, like one hand. So just make those changes, innovate, be creative about the sport, and basically the whole Indian jugaad mentality. Right?
Right.
So that's what I do.
You said in a way you were lucky to have met with that accident at 4 years because that meant you are learning everything for the first time, not relearning, so to speak, which is much more difficult, right? Who is the driving force for you to kind of take up sport and as a normal
The
kid?
driving force back then, when I was being introduced to all these things, it was my dad because he himself is a big sportaholic. So till date, he basically plays basketball in the morning and then hits the gym in the evening. And a few years ago, I think until when, I think till the time he was 35 or 37, he had a cricket team as well. And it was all these dad and his friends, they came together and started playing. They had a big team of, or although I mean 10 years or something. So they used to play that, and I used to learn a lot while just watching them play. So dad had introduced me to a lot of these sports, and then he was the one because he himself had played all of these right all throughout his life. So he would work with me on it on how to adjust and how to change stances, or basically how to use both like my 1.5 arms, right? So make use of my right arm and as much as I can from my left, and then okay, cricket is done. Let's try basketball. Let's try rugby. Let's try swimming. So just to make sure that like I'm not feeling like a bichara anywhere, like oh, sadly this guy cannot play kind of feeling. So I never go through that kind of a feeling in my life ever. So just make sure that you go through everything, and then whichever one you like the most, maybe go and excel in that.
Right. So that attitude of using what you have and not worry about what you don't have. So obviously came from your family and your dad in particular, and he was into sports like he was playing cricket and now basketball. So he introduced you to those sports. And how was it initial days
Well,
in
yeah,
sport?
that was one of the biggest fear that my parents had, that will everybody else accept me, or will I be able to manage with everyone else, like every other kid who goes to school and class and teachers and education and whatever, managing day-to-day activities, whatever people just say and go by, right? So will I be able to manage like that? That was the biggest fear, and yeah, where it was skilled, this is what you have, right? So you have to manage everything with whatever remains and make the most. But luckily, that's what all throughout my schooling, my college, university life, and work life also, everyone's always been like very supportive, and I never felt like I was treated differently anywhere else. I'm thankful that I didn't feel like that, and I was treated equally throughout my educational life. And, when it came to sports, uh, yes, in the beginning, there were challenges, right? Because getting the balance right on, say, a cricket bat, for example, getting the balance right on the swing, or how to hold the handle, how to catch a ball, like say high catches or something. Because if you just use one hand, there's always a probability that it will bounce out, or I might just not able to, hold it well. So that took time. It took a lot of time. Like I was introduced when I was 6, so I think around it took the first. For the first 3 to 4 years, I was just continuously learning basics and trying to get my basics right. Trying to do the same thing over and over again as much as I could, so that at least I have the tendency of and the reflexes of catching the ball in the right way, holding the bat, changing the grip, sort of playing different kind of shots. Um, so I was just expanding my array of shots out from that, and that's when I had actually become a better batsman. Uh, and with more and more experience, with more team matches, with more local games, more school games, started getting better at it. Same with swimming as well. Like initially, I would just pedal, and then I started slowly using only my left hand, and then I started using my right hand as well. So I could then see the difference when I'm using my right hand, I can still maintain my core, maintain the direction and things like that. So I had to adapt and try and do a trial error kind of a thing throughout the time. Like if A doesn't work, let's do B. If that doesn't, let's do C. So with a lot of sports, I used to play hockey. So with hockey as well, like initially I was holding the stick with the grip and was just trying to tackle and to hit hard shots because I was using a lot of power with my left hand. But then I realized that I can use the top part of the hockey stick with my right arm to keep it like low, just the same way I use the cricket bat. So started doing that. It was just a way to experience it, understand what's happening, whenever I'm looking out, and then adapt. So initial days would take time, but eventually I would pick up. And cycling as well. I picked up cycling when I was a kid. And I didn't have my own cycle, so I would borrow my neighbor's cycle or just take the cycle and go out for a sprint. Initially, my parents wouldn't let me get out of our society, so I would just keep doing rounds inside the society. And one of these helpers in the building taught me how to ride a bike actually back then, like how to balance a proper bike now. Um, yeah, I had a lot of falls because I wasn't.
When did cycling come into the picture?
So as a kid, I would cycle, right? I would cycle from my home, like within my house, and I would go from my home to the tuitions or just for a ride around the neighborhood and stuff. But yeah, that must have been in school, and then I stopped after that for a long time. It only came back in a good way when I moved to Bangalore for my first job, and I had to travel from Bomanhalli, which is near Hosur, Bomanhalli to Banargata. Bomanhalli to Marathalli, where my office was. And that is what, a stretch of 11 or 12 kilometers. But you know how the outer ring road is during work hours, right? Like
Right,
peak hours in
right.
the morning.
Yeah.
So I would get stuck like that entire stretch from Bomanhalli to SSR, and then I forgot the names now, but you go all the way to Marathalli, and then it was at Kaduki Sanadu, which is after
Right.
Marathalli.
Yeah.
And I would get stuck in the car. I would be like just sitting there wondering what the heck's happening. Like why is this? Like why can't people just do something else? Why do they have to like? It was bumper to bumper all throughout, and I was
Yeah.
spending like good 2 hours just one way, like just to get to work. And by the time I would get there, I'd be like exhausted. Like this went on for a while, like at least for the first 4, 5, or maybe 6 months. I was wasting a lot of time, and for a long time I hadn't picked up I wasn't doing a lot of sports apart from just playing cricket for some local clubs or as a league game. Um, so yeah, that's when I was like, boss, need to do something else. I can't like sit like this and wait 3 to 4 hours every day, just waiting to get to work and then waiting to get back home. And there's nothing else that is happening, right? There's just homework. So wanted to do something different. So one random Sunday morning, I asked my flatmate to like just drive me to Decathlon. Like two of us went on his Honda Activa, and we just walk around. We were just walking around Decathlon in Sarjapur, and we were like, "Okay, let's just." I was like, "I'm gonna buy a bicycle now." He's like, "How are you gonna come back?" I'm like, "I'll ride back. You go on the scooty. Just come along with me." So I bought a very basic. It was an impulsive decision that time. I just wanted to do something else, but I didn't know I would like buy a cycle like then and there. So it was an impulsive decision. I went in. I purchased. It was a between 7S, like those basic 7 gear cycles. Uh, with no front derailleur and all. It was just where derailleur seven shifters, and that too on the right side, right on the gas. So I had to do a lot of discussion with the Decathlon guys, like, okay, help me out, put it on the left. So they changed handlebars and stuff like that. So quite helpful. They were also excited to see something like this. And that was the first time I actually rode a geared cycle. I had no idea how to ride a gear cycle. And I didn't even understand what gear is for what. And also, obviously, I started all the way from the basics. Yeah, I picked up that cycle and started going home. Sarjapur to Bomanhalli must have been another like 10 kilometers or something, right? But I struggled. I was like, shit, all those flyovers that would come in on the way, and I can't do this. Like, change to false gear, and he was on the active one beside me, and he's looking at the speed, like going at 10, 12, 13 kilometers per hour. Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, just sit on this and we'll do something else with the bike. But no, I was like, I'll ride. And then I did that. And for the next 2, 3 days, I couldn't walk because of the pain for riding for the first time like that. And then I decided, like, let's try and ride to work. Like, luckily, we had a shower area and a gym at work. So we had all the facilities over there. So I could carry my change, my work clothes, my laptop, and everything on my bag behind me, and then I would just leave, say, at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, so that I avoid a lot of traffic. And yeah, initially, first few days it would take me at least an hour to get to Marathali side, but fine, it's okay, right? Like I was at least saving one extra hour by not being stuck in a car. Then I started crashing, like once crashing the timeline basically, because I started getting used to it. Like I would ride to work, change, get into my work clothes, do the work all day, and then leave by 4:30, so that I avoid the rush hour on the way back as well. Uh, and because I would enter early, I could get done with a lot of work also when the office is empty. A lot of people haven't come in yet, and whatever work is pending or extra I want to do, I can just get done with it early in the morning. And I would leave by 4:30, at max 5. Um, and same routine, get back as quickly as possible. So that 13 kilometers distance and the time that I would take was around 1 hour, came down. Like I kept reducing the timelines, and at one point I could easily do it in 30, 35 minutes or something, right? So I was saving on a lot of time. And that's when this bug bit me, like, this is fun. This is nice. Let's see, let's do more of it, right? So I would do rides around Bangalore. I would go to that Manchambele Dam. I think that was the first long ride that I did with one of my friends, 40 kilometers or something. And I was struggling. It was as good as doing a 200-kilometer ride. But yeah, it was the enthusiasm. I just wanted to do more with this, right? I wanted to explore more because it is fun. I'm not sitting in a car. I'm not wasting money on transport. I'm going to cycle my way to that place and wherever I want to go, right? As much as I can. That was the whole point. And I wanted to do more. So that's when
When
I
was this?
started experimenting and doing more and more.
When was this? When was the first bike?
This first bike would have been 2015, towards the end of 2015. I think it was winters.
All right. So that was your first job, and recently moving to Bangalore and stuff.
Yeah. It was first job, first year at the job, first bike, like the basic between one. And then I was like, okay, let's do more so that I can, and I started riding with groups. That's when I met you all. I had met Cadence 90 group and a lot of other groups that were there, and I would ride along with them. We'd go to Harohali, I remember Harohali, or towards the airport, and these were like amazing rides. I remember one of these decathlon guys told me that they are doing some off-road riding as well, and I was like, hey, I have those fat tires. I don't have suspension, but I want to do off-road. So let's do off-road. He's like, boss, without suspension, you won't be able to do those turns and all. I don't care. Let's go. So I tried doing that as well. Had a fall or two, but it was fun. I just wanted to experiment more and more, right? Because I was enjoying it. And so I rode on that bike. I did a lot of mileage on that, and that's when I decided, okay, let's upgrade now. So then I got a hybrid for myself, so that at least I can ride, because I wasn't sure about. I obviously wanted to move to a road bike. It looks beautiful. Everybody's riding on it. The position, it just looks too sexy. And I was like, I want that. But how do I do the shifting? How do I do all of that? So it was a bit of a mess, right? And it took time for me to figure out the whole customization to use everything on one side with one hand. So I moved to a hybrid, and then I started doing even longer rides. Like I would do my BRMs, I would do like Nandi and back and all. So, and by the time I was okay, I was like enjoying it. I knew my set of people with whom I can, ride at a certain pace, and I was doing good time. And that's how it started off for me. It was just trial error, and then the bug bit me over there.
Okay. So this, you mentioned riding BRMs. So what, when was this? 2016, 17 times, or when was this?
I think I did my entire BRM series in 2018.
Okay.
2018. Oh no, sorry, 2017. 2017 is when I did my entire BRM series. Yeah. Like the entire SR series. Yeah.
Entire SR series, in the sense it, for those who don't understand, Super Randonneur series consists of 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, 400 and 600, right?
Correct.
Okay, and this was on your hybrid bike.
So the 200 and 300 were on my hybrid. And by that time, I was already like representing India. So I had received the road bike. So between 200 and 300, like I think it was right after my 300 ride is when I got the bike from Merida, from Aditya Mehta Foundation. So I did my 400 and 600 on the road bike and 200, 300 on the hybrid. But I made sure that, like, because I wanted to, explore more with cycling. So I made sure that I do all the BRMs in different cities. So 200, 300, I think I did it in Bangalore. 400, I did it in Calcutta. And 600, I did it in Pune. This is a beautiful ride.
Okay, so how were the experiences of these long rides? How did you kind of was that a learning curve, or did you by that time have the base fitness to kind of take them on without too many problems?
200 was, I think I did that 200 BRM. It was my first shot at 200. I had never ridden 200 kilometers before that. I would have just done like 100, 120 at max, 150, nothing beyond that. So I was like, if I can do 150, I can definitely do 200. So just got on my, got on my bike, and the next day I was with these guys doing the 200 in Bangalore. It was fun actually because there were a lot of other people doing 200 together. So you could always chit chat, plan it, and learn more from them, and just maintain a certain pace, get that idea, how hydration is so important, how nutrition is important throughout the way, and how you maintain a certain pace and not just get too excited and go all guns, like right in the beginning. Um, so by then, 200 was fun because we were, I think, around good 70, 80 people who started from Bangalore that morning. Um, and it didn't feel that difficult. So I thought like, okay, if I can do 200, I can definitely push a little and do 300. And 300 was a little tricky. It was a ride to Horsey Hills, right? That's the name there. And
Yeah.
back. So yeah, Horsey Hills was the turning point. So we had to climb the hill and back. And I was like, dude, at 150 kilometers, I have to actually go and climb the hill. Will I have that much strength and I have to come back also 150? I was like, okay, we are another, like the entire cadence group was doing it together. So I was like, okay, everyone's doing it, I'll just figure it out and we'll do it all together, right? Like, if they can do it, so can I. Why not? Um, and that was the motivation I felt because everyone can do it and I've seen them do it. I've seen so much, like I've read so much online. I've seen that Strava and all, like, ho jayega, kar lenge. So I went ahead and I completed it well before time. So another great experience, like riding in the night. I'd never done that either. And 300 is when I actually rode after sunset for the first time, and overnight, like you ride all night kind of thing. And then I was confident. Then 400, 600, I was fairly confident. That's why I moved to the road bike, and then did it in different cities to just do more exploration and try out different roads and different places. Um, I wouldn't, I don't know. Now I feel I wouldn't do 600 anymore. I would rather do short, more focused rides because my aim is different right now. But when I would actually do touring after a certain point in my life, I think maybe I could go back to doing these rides in a touring way. 600 was particularly challenging because it was in Pune. We had to ride from Pune to, what was in the south of Pune, that very spicy place. Like, they make very spicy food. I forgot the name.
But
Anyway, it
Lonavala.
was 600. Like starting from Pune, we go. No, no, Lonavala is up north. So it was south. I forgot the name. It'll come back.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
yeah.
We rode down some 250 kilometers and then we had to ride back to Pune and then we had to go towards Lonavala, climb the hill at Lonavala and come back to Pune. So that was a 600 BRM. And in that, we experienced all kind of weathers, like extremely hot during the day and thunder and lightning middle of the night while we were riding. Got a flat tire, got two flat, tried to change. I couldn't, so I had to get help from people. And when it rains in those hilly areas, it gets very cold. And all I had was just a jersey. nothing else. I wasn't wearing any base layers. I wasn't carrying anything because I wasn't anticipating this. So middle of the night, we were shivering and riding and just making sure like, pause this, cross this, let's just go to the next checkpoint, and then we'll figure out. It was just checkpoint after checkpoint, one goal after the other, and making sure that let's just do this. And again, after crossing Pune, when it was hot during the day, I started the climb for Lonavala. And Venki, believe me, like when I was going downhill on the Lonavala climb, I mean, after doing the climb, it was pouring. It was raining so hard that I could see my speed reduce while I was going downhill, even without braking. So there was so much wind, and the rain would actually hurt on the skin. And these are experiences like I don't think you can experience this in any other way, right?
Right.
The raw form of experiencing nature. And it was
Yeah.
beautiful. It was painful. It was exciting, but it was beautiful. Yeah. So experienced all kinds of harsh weather and still being able to complete it well under that time limit was brilliant. But I would highly recommend people who want to explore the country and want to know more about, I feel cycling is therapy. And especially when you're doing BRM, you're by yourself, riding by yourself, and you're just, you're having those conversations, having thoughts, and you're solving for things by yourself. And it gives you a lot of time, and it's beautiful. So everybody should at least do an SR, is what I feel. Whoever is, remotely interested in cycling.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it is a therapy, like you said. It is the solitude that it gives you and the connection it gives with your surroundings, right? You are just there experiencing everything that the nature throws at you. You will be feeling too hot in the afternoons. It'll be bone chilling cold. It can be bone chilling cold in the nights, and you will be experiencing that a couple of times at least, if you're riding like a 600 or something, right? So yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So that was your initial years of cycling. What was your first race?
My actual first race was a BBCH time trial. That was the first race I had ever done, and that too, it was on my hybrid. Um, it was on that OMR circuit, right?
uh,
The 33K circuit. And I think I clocked a very decent time on my hybrid. I did a average of 36 for the 36 kmph on that entire thing. So I was quite happy, like, wow, if I can do this much time on my hybrid on the road bike, I'd be flying. Because when I was riding by, I saw a lot of road bikers who was on the left and they weren't able to keep up. Like, I'm gonna be good at this. I think somewhere over there, and an experience like that gave me some confidence to think more about a ride or think more about experimenting or at least figuring out what's happening with cycling in the world, in India, and all the other sports that we've been talking about. I always competed or I always played with all the able bodies, right? And I wanted to do more of cricket, but then because of school and education and all the other responsibilities, I had to like drop that idea. But cycling, and I had some a want to represent the country since childhood because we absolutely love it when you watch it on TV. Like you wear the jersey, you sing the national anthem, you're on a ground because it was cricket all the time. So you're on the ground, you're wearing the jersey, and everyone's cheering. It's a different vibe altogether. And I'm sure everybody wants to represent. Everybody wants that opportunity, and so did I. And I wanted to figure out, okay, able body. I know that I'm not that great for the able body competition as yet at that point in time. But what else can be done? Is there something like, because there is Paralympics and what all sports go under Paralympics is when I read like, okay, there are like 20, 30 different sports. There is something called paracycling. Like, wow, perfect. Let's see what they do under paracycling or how they classify. That's when I understood like, okay, how they classify individuals like, into certain categories basis, how based on their disability, like people who have one leg and that too below knee or above knee is a different category. People who have one hand above elbow, below elbow is a different category. With one leg, one arm missing, that is a different category. So they have different categories for different disabilities, right? And all this was R&D for me then to understand more. And then I wanted to know, okay, what is India doing more in paracycling? Do we even have something or someone else doing this, or am I the only crazy person, right? And that's when I Googled and I was like, easiest way to search for something. I came across Aditya Mehta Foundation in Hyderabad, and they were doing a lot. He himself was cycling quite a bit, and he had represented the country earlier. So I immediately got in touch with them, and this was in 2016. Uh, this was 2016 around July, right?
Okay.
When I had just moved to a hybrid bike. Uh,
Mm.
I got in touch with him and I was like, boss, like, I want to know your story and I want to know what's happening with cycling. I'm liking it, I'm loving it, I'm doing more and more of it. So I want to know how I can improve, right? And how can I eventually represent? Because you have done it, so you know what's the path like. And he was like, ठीक है, let's test you out and all. So he came down to Bangalore with his team and we did few Nandi reps. He was impressed, and he told me that they were planning for a Manali to Khardungla ride in August, which
Mhm.
is a 10-day, 550, 600-kilometer ride, and all the way to Khardungla top. So he wanted me to join the entire foundation. It was fundraiser, right? So I would join them as a rider, helping them raise funds for all the activities that they're doing. And I was like, geez, like, wow, I've never been to Himalayas. I'm going to go to Leh Ladakh and ride over there. Like, insane. Like, why not? Every rider's dream, right? And like, I don't know about hills. The maximum I've ridden is Nandi Hill. That's the highest, I think, or maybe horse. I think Nandi was the highest hill that time that I had done. So I'm like, I'll come. Obviously, I'll come. Let's just go. So I started training for that. My training was basically just watching GCN videos or blogs, reading blogs, and just understanding, what is the heart rate, how do you do power meter training, how do you do FTP testing. I didn't even have power. In fact, I was in hybrid, so I wasn't even like well equipped to analyze and do things like that. But yeah, I just went ahead. I like blind faith. Like, hey, something is there. I know something is pulling me towards it. Let's just go for it. Didn't even carry my cycle. We got something from Manali, and then we started riding towards Kadungla. Um, and that's when I was like, this is it. Like, I'm going to devote a lot of part of my life, or at least I'm going to devote a major part of my energy and my life till the time I don't need it, and till the time I don't represent the country. And I'm doing good. I'm faster and better at climbing than a lot of other riders who were there during that point in time. And you're climbing hills, and those hills are quite steep, and you have to maneuver your way through because there are rocks and it's not a proper road. Also, I think I'm able to compete. Okay, so let's do more. And that's when it clicked for me, like up karna hai. So then we had like a set of trials which happened in Hyderabad. A lot of other paracyclists came down, different categories from BSF, RTI, and CISF, and a lot of able body cyclists as well. Sorry, civilian paracyclists as well who came in. So yeah, we had our trials in Hyderabad, and we had a short time trial effort to analyze, like, and to see who wins, and like a national
Mm.
race, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I won that and got selected. And
Awesome.
uh, after 2 or 3 weeks is when we received a message from PFI, and they told us that there's this race happening in Bahrain, the Asian Championship. So if we would like to go, I'm like, come on, like, why not? I was born for this. Send me.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we finally went to Bahrain, did my first PT race, proper race, put on my first Indian jersey ever. So
Before
yeah,
before yeah
sure,
before we
sure.
get there, so this was your as part of your research, you chanced upon the Aditya Mehta Foundation, who do a lot of work with in the space of paracycling and other para sports as well, right?
All
Um,
para sports, yes.
yeah, so they support athletes with supplying uh, prosthetic limbs and
I'll tell
others.
you, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what they
What?
do is,
Yeah.
yeah, amazing. So great question. What they do is, um, they they source talent from both civilians, para body civilians, and armed paramilitary forces like TSF, ITBP, CRPF, something, CISF. So they source talent from there. A lot of these jawans or officers who've lost any of these body parts, right, in on the border, an IED blast or something or the other, because of which they are specially able, and then they're just doing a desk job, or they're basically not on the border, and they want to do something. So the foundation provides them with that. The foundation gives them the opportunity to explore all different kinds of sports. The foundation has different coaches for every sport, experts to train them, physiotherapists to rehabilitate, do strength and conditioning. So, and then whoever finds their niche, or whoever feels that okay, they are getting better at it, they put in more focus, they put in more investments, they provide them with more equipment, right? So that to take them to a certain level where they can actually represent the country, right? That is the whole idea, and win for the country.
Right.
And basically becoming like from a desk job to being something for which they actually, feel a lot of value. They love their life because of it, because it's like a second chance that they're getting at it.
Right.
So that's what the foundation does, and they support a lot of these para bodies in a lot of in most of the para sports that they can. And then they partner with all the federations in India to take them to the next and to the highest level possible.
Excellent. So what kind of support they have provided you? You mentioned you received the road bike from them?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I was done with my Bahrain race is when we got the road bikes from the foundation, so that we can prepare better. And
okay,
that
so
was my first ever.
In Bahrain you participated on your hybrid, is it?
Oh no, not at all. I had borrowed another foundation, one of the members of the foundation. I had borrowed his bike, which was the road bike. And I just put on a TT bar. I put on a single arm TT bar on it. I rode it for a month before the race to get used to it. I got cleat to cleat, uncleat, ride on the highways, out of the tail, get my positioning right and things like that. And then I just go for it. See what happens.
Right.
So I did my first race on a borrowed bicycle.
Okay, so how was the experience of representing India for the first time at an Asian event? How was that experience, and what are some of the highlights from that first outing?
Well, it's I don't know. It's something that you remember all throughout your life, right? Like it's just a highlight in your life. When you go back and watch movie highlights, that's one of the biggest one that comes right on top. The first race ever, the first jersey ever, that first medal ever, first podium. So it's the first of a lot of things. First time I'm competing with other countries, other athletes of other countries. First time riding on the Bahrain Grand Prix. Like wow, like I never imagined that. So it was the first of a lot of things, and it's gonna stay with me till I die. So it's gonna be the highlight of my life, I think. And that's what started everything else thereafter, right? Like more investments, more time spending, more coaching, and getting a right coach, getting more strength conditioning, and everything required to get to the goal, basically.
Okay, so the first event there, what event did you participated in? What were the results there?
So it was a time trial. So what happens in Asian cycling championships, they usually just have time trials. In Asian Games and World Cups and World Championships, they have both road race and time trials.
Okay.
And this one was just a TT ride and TT effort of one lap of the Grand Prix, and they made a circuit outside the Grand Prix which connects again later on. So it was, I think, 12 or 13 kilometers. But it didn't feel like 12, 13 because the effort was massive. It felt longer than any of those 100, 200 kilometers, or harder than them, obviously.
Yeah.
So all of us, obviously, everybody understands how a TT works. We did that, insane headwinds, and I'm like, I had never encountered those many. I mean, that kind of a headwind or a crosswind, because it's our Grand Prix and it's barren, so it's barren land on both sides. So there's crazy amount of winds, and my bike is swaying, I'm swaying, and I'm like changing between the drops and the hoods and the TT bar because I'm suffering so much. but it was all part of it, right? Like it was all part of that experience. The only thing in my mind was I just don't have to stop pedaling. I cannot stop pedaling anymore. I just have to cross the line. Result jo hoga, we'll figure out. But just make sure you complete the entire race and you put in everything you have. That was my only thing going on in my head. Um, yeah, I didn't even have like a heart rate, or I didn't even have a speedometer to even see what pace am I maintaining, what is that. I was just like full effort, right? That's it. Uh, and yeah, after we were done with everything, the results were announced, and we were quite excited. I think it happened for the first time ever in history, or it hasn't happened ever, apart from that one time. Like bronze, silver, and gold, all three went to India. The bronze went to Harinder from DSF. I got the silver medal, and Abhishek got gold. Uh, so wow, we were like all three flags up, all three, I mean, three Indian flags up, all three of us on the podium, and you're listening to the national anthem. What more do you want on your first ever, I mean, first ever ride, right? It was insane. The only thing I wanted more was I wanted to be first. I wanted to get the winner's jersey, like the Asian champs jersey. So yeah, I'm chasing that now.
Awesome. That was, like you rightly said, first time is always very special. And that too, first time representing India and, being on the podium is an amazing feeling. So after coming back from Bahrain, you continued to train towards the next events and stuff. So how and you went the first year was when?
First race was in Feb 2017.
Hmm.
So 2015 I started riding, and things escalated quite like very quickly for me. And
Yeah.
2017 was my first race in Bahrain. And after that, when I came back, I knew that obviously I had to get a bike. That was one. Second was I need to get all the equipment, right? Like heart rate, power meter, the cycling computer, how to do more of this, and how to get used to a carbon bike and things like that. And get a proper coach. I mean, the foundation obviously was supporting, but I wanted to get myself in, like, a personal coach, a personal trainer. So I got in touch with Siddharth Kansal. He was training, and he's still training. I'm still training with him. And he helped me out. So we've been training together since then. 2017 is when I got myself a first trainer, first bike, first equipment, first power meter pedals, better road bike shoes and everything. So again, a first of a lot of things. We started off from there. Then I wanted to, obviously, it was first year. I was already high on my win in Bahrain, so I wanted to do World Cup, World Championship, everything in that year itself, because was chal raha to abhi sab karo, right? So 2017, we did get the opportunity to go to South Africa for the World Championships, but unfortunately, I fell sick 2-3 weeks before the event, so I had to back out. But the team went there. Yeah, that event I couldn't make it. So then I had to continue training for the Myanmar Asian Championships. It was 2018 of March, Feb or March. I don't remember the month right now, but either of these 2 months. Again, TT races. Yeah, so that's how that phase, after the race. I mean, the things changed and escalated to a different level after my first win.
So, having taken part in the first Asian Cycling Championship, you on a borrowed bike, you came back, and now you had your own road bike and a lot of other equipment like your shoes, power meters, heart rate monitors, everything, and coach, the consultant, right? Siddharth
And a coach
Consult. Yeah.
consultant, to make sure that all that data makes sense. Because for me, it was in numbers. I didn't understand. Like, boss, you tell me what's to be done, how to do it, what to look at, and I'll send you the files, and then you crunching it.
Right. Yeah, great. So how did working with a coach uh, uh, change change your riding, and how did it benefit you for the next years?
Absolutely, great question. The main thing is, at least when you're working with a personal coach, then every ride that you're doing, what is missed or where you have to to improve or what was done right? So you know what to change for the next ride. So it's an 1% improvement on a daily basis, right? And on an annual basis, the compounded 3,000% improvement. So that's what changes when you have a personal coach. Um, and because someone is looking at the data so closely and structuring plans for the next day so that your training changes based on that. You have strength days, then you have your tempo rides, you have India. I had no idea. I was just like, initially I would just get my bike and just start riding. What do we have to do? 30 kilometers. Okay, let's do 30 with the group. But after I moved and after the race, after the Bahrain race, and then after getting my own bike, then everything became institutionalized in a way. It is fun, it is nice, it is structured. So you know how much time you have to give to a particular set, or what kind of power to hit, what cadence to maintain, what heart rate to like aim for, and things like that. So I had no idea about all of this even before. I mean, when I started riding, I didn't know it was so data heavy. But having a coach helps you, and the coach guides you through all of this, right? So that helps quite a bit, and you can see the improvement in your performance throughout the time.
Mm. Awesome. So then you kind of subsequently represented India again at Asian paracycling championships, and got two more medals there. That two more silver medals there, right? So that was in 2018 and 19, was it?
Correct. 2018 and 19.
Okay. How was
And yeah.
How were
Yeah,
things different compared to the first year in this, following 2 years? What changed and what kind of remained same?
Well, my time gap from the person winning the gold obviously reduced. In Bahrain, my time gap must have been a little more than 1.5 minutes or 1 minute 50 seconds or something to gold. With a lot of training and the new bike and new positioning and everything in Myanmar, I think my time gap was around 35-40 seconds from the Indonesian guy who won gold. So that itself was a result of proper training, proper structured plan. Now, obviously, there are very good riders in other countries who are also training on a daily basis to improve, right?
Right.
And we are all competing at a very insanely hard level. So everyone's gonna keep getting better at it. My aim was just to continuously work on the same thing at a higher level. And then from 2018 to 19, I lost the gold by 6 seconds. So that was another closing over there.
Yeah.
So I could see that obviously my performance is improving, my ride, my timing is improving, my speed is improving. And in 2019, I got myself a TT bike, which I mean, all this time I was riding on the road bike. I was doing TT rides on a road bike with just clip-on handlebars. But finally in 19, I got a TT bike that added to the advantage, right? Of more pace, more aero, lighter. So yeah, I could see that along with more training, right?
So you are getting closer to that goal of goal. So from 1.5 minute to 35 seconds to 6 seconds, it came down. So so it is going to.
It is there.
It is. You're almost there.
I can get it. This
some
more time. Yeah.
Yes.
Another opportunity. That's it. Yeah.
Right. So these 2 years. So last year it did not happen. I think, right? So and this year doesn't look likely as well. Or is there a chance that it can happen this year?
There is. In fact, I was supposed to be in Europe right now for the World Cups and World Championships, all from May till July. So in May we had the World Cup in Belgium, and in June we had the World Championships in Portugal. So we were all denied visa because embassies were rejecting all applicants from India because of the second wave. So it was a very bad timing for us, and we required these. We needed to participate and get points because that would qualify us for the Paralympics. So it's been quite a bummer that all this couldn't happen. And just last week, I got to know that they have announced the Asian Championships in August. It's in Thailand, both for road and para. But they require all the athletes and everyone who's attending to go through 14 days of quarantine in a hotel. So we're still contemplating on if it makes sense or not, because it's all self-financed, right? At the end of the day, and
Right.
it gets very expensive when you have to stay back for such a long time and spend everything by yourself. So
Right.
we're still contemplating. Everybody obviously wants to participate, but there are finances also need to be taken care of. Right?
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 It's a really strange time that we are living in, right? What we took granted for so many years, traveling whenever we want, and all that is changed like just like that.
Yeah.
And
It's like
yeah.
when you were going to work, you wanted more work from home kind of a thing, and now that you're working from home all throughout the year, you're like, please get me back to office.
Absolutely. We are going crazy with online classes for kids, work, back-to-back calls, work calls on Zoom. The Zoom fatigue is quite real.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, great. So, coming to the equipment, right? Like you said, you got the road bike and your first road bike in 2017 or something like that, and then you got your TT bike recently for 2019 Asian Championship. So, what kind of changes do you need to do to so that the bikes work for you? And
Up until 2018, towards the end of
mm,
2018, I was just riding with my left hand, right? So I I purposely got a DI2 so that I can move, I can get the satellite shifters and do everything from one side. So right now the current setup is on my left handlebar. I think I can show you as well. You want me to move
mhm.
this? Uh, Let me show this right on the camera. So this is a road bike, the Merida 7000E, which is Altegra DI2 right now. So on the left handlebar, I have obviously the derailleur, the shifters over here, which are for the for the front derailleur. And then I installed this DI2 shifter, satellite DI2 shifters for my rear derailleur. And I
Mm,
got this cable doubler, which you can see over here.
mm.
So that pulls the cable of both the brakes, front and rear, from one side itself, one lever.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
how I could manage everything with one hand. Like I didn't have to worry about anything that I'm missing out on the right side. So I moved everything on the left, and on one side I could do everything till 2018. But in 2018, the Asian Games in Indonesia is when I realized, like, okay, because it was again on a circuit, the road race and TT, both of them, and I was having a tough time doing the turns. Every right turn, I couldn't, like, I wasn't that confident on my right turns because there was no balance on the right side to hold that handlebar and get like at a good speed. So I had to brake. I was losing out from the peloton, and I had to then chase the peloton, get in again and again. When I come to similar turns, I would brake and slow down. So I realized that I need some support on the right. I need to divide the pressure that I'm putting and the load that I'm putting on the left side, because throughout the time I'm holding from the left, I'm braking from the left, I'm like trying to sprint only from the left side, pulling the handlebar, and it wasn't working out well. So I got myself a prosthetic arm only for cycling, which I got it. So I was living in Indonesia for a year in 2018. So I went to Autobok over there and got it made, customized it only for cycling. So now that's the adjustment that I had to make over and above what I just showed you.
Mhm.
Uh, and on that arm, which is in the other room right now, I made two holes. So it looks exactly like how my left arm is right now, but it's just a carbon fiber body, which I
Okay.
put on my right side.
Mhm.
So where my forearm is right now, I made two holes. Uh, One is for the TT bike, the other is for a road bike, and I put stems on the bike, uh, which go into that hole. So I can just put my hand into that hole and it holds over there. So it doesn't slip or move out. It goes into it.
Okay.
And by that, I can transfer a lot of weight to my right side. So I can
So it
shift the
clips
weight on
into
both
that.
sides.
It clips into
It's
the.
just like, it is like I'll show. So you see this stem, this
Right.
extra piece that I put, so that
Mm.
arm goes into it and it goes to the hole.
All
Similarly, on
right.
the road bike, it goes on that side, on the right
Okay.
side.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So that helps me. That helps me maintain. I mean, be steady, and then I can use my both sides now. I can balance it out better, and I can free up a lot of load on my left side. I can
Right.
also leave my left hand, get the bottle, drink water, and put it back because my right is still intact, which I couldn't earlier. Earlier, I had to like stand, like sit up straight, or maybe slow down or stop on the side and drink water, and then I would lose the entire race, right? So I could
Right.
make all these changes so that I could
Mm.
adapt. And yeah, it took some training to put on an extra arm because I'm again adding more weight
Right.
and training with it. But then because it's carbon fiber, it's a little lighter and
Mhm.
it's helpful. I feel it's more helpful because I can split my weight. I can balance the bike better even in strong winds. Because when there are crosswinds with one side, it will sway a lot. But when I have both the hands and I have the weight there properly, it's still more steady.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So with you riding for leisure is one thing, right? And you have been working full time since 2015, 16. A lot of us do sport while working full time. That is the concept of working athlete, right? So,
Yeah.
but trying to represent India and do well certainly adds a lot more uh, pressure and a lot more expectations from yourself. How do you kind of manage your work and trying to do well in that sport?
Thanks for that. I mean, a lot of people wonder and ask me that is it possible to, compete at such a level and have a full-time job, or why aren't you just competing? Why are you doing a job as well, right? So yeah, I was very lucky to be part of these companies who were extremely supportive. I was at Inmobi earlier. That was my first job. And the founder of the company, the CEO of the company himself was a cyclist. So he was extra enthusiastic with cycling. And when he got to know that I'm riding, and especially when I'm doing Manali Khardungla, he was like, he provided a lot of donations to the foundation to support more of this, and the entire company was in fact very very supportive. uh, that helps quite a bit, especially when your team is aware that you're doing something like this. So they try and ease out the burden somewhere. They cut you some slack at some level, but obviously uh, you are in a company, you are expected to deliver something, right? And when you deliver an expectation, it's not like a half-hearted effort. At least you deliver to the best of your capabilities. So I try to do the most. I mean, I try to match that expectation as much as I could, and they were quite happy with it. So they were very supportive on both financial side, on leaves if I needed to go for a race, or if I had training, I could come in late to work, not a problem. If I had to go for races, I don't have to use my paid leave. You just take the leave, and there's no issue around that. They would award me with money if I would win a race, if I would win a medal in any way. So I was having my finances in place. I could invest more back into cycling, get better equipment and things like that. And they themselves were even more supportive around that, of sponsoring certain events, sponsoring equipment. So I was very lucky in that case. They even gave me the opportunity, like I relocated to Indonesia basically for a year, took up a different role because I was good at it. And it was sales. So I was doing a lot of sales over there, which is a lot of client meetings, a lot of agency parties and all where you obviously get diverted from your main goal. Um, yeah, distractions are there, but then when you know that okay, I have to do this here, karna hai, so that'll happen. They were extremely helpful. I think I'm just blessed. And then after that, I moved to Appspire, where I took up even a bigger role, uh, managing partnerships for all of Indian subcontinent, and they were also very happy. Luckily, my MD is a cyclist, so I'm quite lucky that I meet these people, or maybe just somewhere in our interviews it just clicks and we figure out like figure was हो जाएगा. Um, and he himself is a cyclist, so he keeps inviting me to Bangkok to do a lot of these hill rides over there. And they have a very good circuit right inside the airport in Bangkok to do rides over there. So yeah, in fact, not just them. It's a very young company, and there are a lot of these young employees who are from France and Australia and places all in Bangkok who do a lot of triathlons, who do a lot of running, do a lot of swimming. So that culture is there, and that helps quite a bit, right? And people understand the value of that sport. People understand the commitment that you are putting in towards that sport.
Right.
At the same time, yes, there is an expectation that first you have to do your work at least. So
Yeah.
I managed to do that. I allocated, okay, I would wake up early if I have to, and I would do my rides as early as possible. I would get in my 3-4 hours of ride time or whatever is required for that day, and then I would start work. So if I'm putting in 3 hours of ride, then maybe I would wake up at 4, do my ride from 5 to 8, and then start work at 9:30, which is manageable, and then work till 6. If I have to do a recovery or something later on the evening, I do that. If not, then at least by 6 I'm free and I can focus on other things, on personal, like other things.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I started structuring
Nice.
and started prioritizing things in life.
Right. So one of the things that you look at while interviewing for companies is to see whether the management is into cycling or not, is it?
I put my I put my cycle on the side, just like how you have it, so
Yeah.
that it's like a conversation starter, and that gives me a yay or a nay kind of a thing, right? That it's gonna click or not.
Nice, nice. So you mentioned living in Indonesia for a year, right? So
Yeah.
on work. So how did you manage training and stuff there? Were you able to manage fine? How is the environment there and
Uh,
training there?
so I moved from Bangalore to Jakarta, and Jakarta traffic is considered to be gold standard for traffic in Asia, right? It is worse than Bangalore. But I'll tell you what, and something that you'll also agree. The drivers over there, be it on motorbikes, bicycles, or even cars, they respect cyclists who are riding. So if
Yeah.
I am riding on the main road, they will not honk. They will not just rev right beside me and just fly by. They will move aside. They'll give me my 2-3 meters of space, and without honking, they'll go. In fact, they'll cheer me up. They'll put a thumbs up or clap or click a picture, click a video or something. They'll motivate you while doing it, right? They'll
Yeah.
appreciate it. Even if the roads are packed, they'll make space for the cyclists to go by. And they follow driving ethics. So they won't like change lanes or, like just drive in a very stupid way. They follow the lanes. So as a cyclist, you know that, okay, these guys are not going to move suddenly from left to right. You can create your way and you can get out. Uh, it's a very vibrant city. The cyclists over there are amazing. The standard of cycling is extremely high. Coming from Bangalore, I know the standard over there, and for India, it is amazing. For India, Bangalore is the highest level, right? Jakarta was even higher, and I was surprised. I thought like there would be like, I'll go around, I'll be a boss, and all like, cyclist and all representing the country. But I went there and I was slammed like 2 days of riding with the best teams, and I was like, boss, I can't even keep up. I was dropping out on every ride.
Yeah.
They were very good, very good. So, and the culture over there is amazing. Like you have so many brands, so many groups of cyclists, and they ride together. Like there are pelotons of 40, 50, 60 people riding together in 2 lines. They have a convoy of cops or marshals on the side to make sure that nobody comes and no car comes. So they arrange for these things. So that's why it's helpful for the society, and it's beautiful. I had an amazing time. Strategically, I mean, I knew that Asian Games are happening in Indonesia, so I was like, yeah, perfect. I'm in Indonesia. I get to be here. I get to know where the race is happening. I get to try out the circuit. I know who else is coming down with the weather. I get acclimatized. So all that helped as well.
No.
I enjoyed a lot. They have short, small hills near Jakarta, so to do that as well. It was a lot of fun riding in Indonesia.
Amazing. So great chatting, Divij. So, what to kind of conclude our session? What are some of the tips you would give working athlete to do well in sport while doing well at work and family lives?
I don't think I've done enough in life to do tips like that, but something that I've just learned throughout the way. Like I know it gets tough because right now, especially when you have to do more calls and more videos, and you have to prepare a lot of things and stay at home and do this. So taking out time for workouts or taking out time for the sport, be it running, swimming, cycling, what any sport, right? It gets tough. I understand it. Uh, but we have 24 hours in a day. So you can easily take out 2 hours at max from any of those 24 hours and just keep those 2 hours. It'll make your 24 hours worth it. And it'll help you flow through the rest of the day with your work and everything. So that is the only tip I think I can give. That just try and take out that time, and it'll be very helpful. That will help you work better. It will help you deliver better. It will help you maintain a good mind balance, like work-life balance, and also help you stay in shape. So don't get frustrated by like you have to attend a lot of Zoom calls and there are a lot of meetings and all. Everyone's going through the same. It's a zero-sum game at the end of the day. So just keep doing what you enjoy to do. If it's not one sport, try the other sport. If it's not that, do yoga, do meditation, anything. Just keep yourself active in some way or the other, and it will help. It will help quite a bit. So yeah, that is just a tip that I can end with.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Divij. Thanks a lot for taking the time and sharing your amazing, inspiring journey with the Working Athlete podcast. And all the very best for your pursuit of your goal.
Thanks a lot, Venki. I think it's a brilliant initiative from your end, and thank you for having me. It's been a great time.